Welcome back to the workshop. It has been a hot summer, and so because of that I haven't been filming as much, and I've also been busy working on my Parthenon project, which I envision to have done in August or early September. And so today I'm going to talk about the passion that I have for not only woodworking, but also painting and combining the two together. And if you've seen some of my previous videos, you've seen some of my paintings that are incorporated in with my woodworking. Things like the Apothecary Sequential Discovery Puzzle Cabinet, the set of drawers with the secret compartment, as well as the specialty plane case, and also the tea chest that I did with a little puzzle on the back of it, or on the bottom of the drawers. So we'll look at some of those examples and one of the new ones that I'm doing right now for the Parthenon. And if you have any ideas, interest in doing this, I'll show you some of the materials that I use. So starting out, now I started painting the way I'm painting now in 2018 after I broke my arm. And that was unfortunate, but with a broken arm I couldn't put this together. I couldn't bring the Dutch chest out, and I couldn't do much of any other woodworking. So I took up painting, because why not? So in taking up painting, I did several lessons from several different painters, Bob Ross, Frank Clark, Matthew Palmer, Kevin Hill, James Gurney, and many others. And all those people I just mentioned have videos on YouTube if you want to check them out. This is a piece of wood that I got from scrap bin at a local lumber yard, and this is some of the first paintings I did on it. But then I also did this. This was without putting anything on the base of it, without coating the wood with anything. This is a scene from Maymont, which is in Richmond, Virginia. This is from the Japanese garden. Now, this is the first time I painted a scene on wood. It's also like one of the first paintings I did in 2018, so it's not as good as some of the stuff I do now. Well, you could be the judge of that. Another example. Now, this is not on wood, but this is how the two hobbies can combine. Instead of painting something on wood, I can paint a woodworking tool on paper. So this is done in gouache, using a white and black mixture to get the different tones. I have the card for that. And then this is done on a yellow ochre acrylic backing. And this is from the James Gurney Color and Practice series, a practical version of that. But this is let's say this is my Stanley Smoother, which is in the house right now because the Dutch chest is in the house because it's so hot and humid. If you have seen the Apothecary video, you have seen this. It's a little miniature desk that I've built based on some plans from Mazda, but it's part of the sequence of the Apothecary puzzle. Inside we have some Hanayama puzzles. Again, if you've seen this video, you're familiar with that. Keep that closed, otherwise they're going to spill out all over the place. That's going to be a whole different thing. So anyway, that's on this side. If you turn it around, there's a painting on the back. And this is one of 4 paintings inside the Apothecary that feature this windmill over here. And as you go through the puzzle, you get closer to the windmill. And I have links in the description of all these videos that feature the paintings in case you're interested in the item itself. Not so much the painting, but learning more about the Apothecary or the set of drawers, the secret compartment, stuff like that. So check that out. So that's that. Now, additionally, when I first started, this is further along in my painting. Before I started painting in 2018, sort of as a hobby, I was doing some little paintings, and that is when I did the set of drawers, which is this thing over here. On the set of drawers, there are paintings on the front of each of the drawers. I'll give you an example. There's a couple of the drawers. And we've got, this is an oak leaf. This is maple. So these are 2 kinds of woods that I work with. Now, I have worked with oak quite a bit. In fact, I am now designing Puzzle Box 5, and that will be in oak, which if you had seen the original Works Pegasus video, it is featured there, given to me by the guy I got the Works Pegasus from. That will be Puzzle Box 5. Maple I don't use as much, but another friend of mine gave me these. Actually, there's one more back there. This is tiger maple that he had and was getting rid of for some reason or other. And so he unloaded it on me and said, oh, you can use them for drawer fronts or things like that. So more wood. So I should add that when I did these, I first put down a coat of shellac onto the board, one or two coats, and then did the painting. And that was suggested to me by a friend of mine who makes harpsichords, and his wife paints on them. And I had asked her how she preps the surface, and she said that they put shellac down first and then paint the scene or whatever they're going to do. And so that's what I did. Now, I don't do that every time, but when I'm doing it directly on the wood like this for a piece that I care about and will last a while, I usually put some shellac down to preserve the wood and also be a good surface then to put the painting on. Now, the shellac that I'm using is the stuff I get from the big box store, not the stuff I make at work out of the actual shellac flakes mixed with the denatured alcohol. That is, I reserve that for antiques. But anyway, the stuff that I buy at the store is fine and works just well. Another example that you've probably seen before is that of the specialty plain box. This one here, this has also been coated with some shellac on the plywood, and then I painted in, the spoke shave, the router plane, the bowl nose, and the bowl nose. So this is a shoulder plane, a smaller bowl nose shoulder plane, and this is the bowl nose rapid plane. And so that was what I was going to do originally, and I did it, but I wanted to do something in the back. So on the back, I painted a section of the H.O. Studley tool chest, which most of you are familiar with, and if you're not, just search that on the internet and you will see it pretty quick. This is a very large tool chest that was made in the 19th century, and is a lot of woodworkers today build their own versions of it or replicas, and it's an incredible tool chest. And so this is the lower left corner. So you have the big planes and some of the measuring equipment and stuff like that. And so I did this in acrylic, which is most of what I'm doing. When I'm painting on wood, I'm using acrylic because it holds up better. It works better for layering. You can, when you're using a watercolor, unless you coat it in some way and then add watercolor on top, you're always running into the possibility of reactivating it because the water will reactivate your watercolor, your gouache, whatever you're using. With the acrylic, once it dries, it's dried. And then you can layer on top of that with additional colors or whatever you're doing. And so I like to use acrylic for that. There are two paintings in the apothecary. One is gouache and the other one's watercolor. And then the Bob Ross that's in the apothecary, I do it in acrylics because I don't work with oil. Because oil is a whole different ball game. Nothing against oil, but for my purposes, I'd rather not use oil. And so that Bob Ross is a acrylic for me. So right now this week, I'm doing this one. This is one of 4 paintings inside of the Parthenon. This is Cheekwood Mansion, and I'll show a closer view of this. Cheekwood is located in Nashville, Tennessee. It's sort of a mansion, historic museum, art museum, botanical garden, all kind of rolled up into one. It is a very beautiful location. The gardens around it are beautiful. We went there on a cloudy day, but I bet on a sunny day it'd be even better. But it was beautiful the day we went. I took this picture that day, and so did the painting for this for the Parthenon, which features 3 other views from within Nashville as well. So the way I did this, this is poplar wood. If you had seen the videos on the pros and cons of different portable workbenches, you might remember there was a 1/4-inch piece of poplar that was then cut up to make the 2 chamber panels. This is chamber panel 1, and then there's chamber panel 2. Just like in the actual Parthenon, there are 2 chambers, or 2 primary chambers. And so I then so I glued the 2 pieces together, and I stained them, knowing that I would be painting, because in doing the painting, I will wrap it in some tape just around the edges to give it a frame. And when the tape comes off, you need those stained edges to be visible again, because they won't be painted. And so to do that, I use some masking tape that you get from, or painter's tape, that you get from any big box store. They have these stuff. So it goes on easy and comes off easy. If it doesn't come off easy, you can always use a hairdryer or a hot gun or something like that, and that will remove it. And so I put that on first, and again, that's just around the edges, not only to give it a frame, but to protect the painting that's on the back, if that is already done, which in this case it is. And so to protect that other painting and to protect the sides, you put a tape on to do that. Then I will add an acrylic gesso, which you can get from any hobby big box store or small store. But get some acrylic gesso. I put it on. It goes on just like white acrylic paint. But the difference is I like to let it sit overnight to really solidify and harden on the surface, so that when you come the next time, or the next time you sit to paint, it's nice and hard. And then you just add your painting on top. Because it's acrylic paint, I can do the layer thing. I started this 4 days ago, and I've got 1 more day of some detail work to do. And I'm doing that slowly because I want to do it right. This is going to be part of a puzzle cabinet, and I want it to look at least as good as I can make it right now with my skill set, as opposed to one of my practice paintings that I do it on a piece of paper and then I slide it on the pile with the rest of them, and it's kind of forgotten. This is going to be visible if you go into the puzzle cabinet. So anyway, that is an example of how I paint some of the materials that I use. So this piece is actually a Bob Ross. It's Autumn Fantasy from one of his TV shows. And it's mountains with a lake, the final painting. The final painting is a windmill from a larger landscape by Matthew Palmer in his book, Watercolor for the Absolute Beginner. And these are just a few examples of how I have combined painting with a love of woodworking.